Our Daytona 500 pre-race show delivered by Pizza Hut. Bright blue skies, temperature in the 70s. Little wind for the start of the 53rd running of the Great American Race. Jamie McMurray, last year's winner in a backup car today. But time for our Pizza Hut race prediction. We're going to ask our experts to name the race winner, and then we're going to track every week who's the best, and you can get involved as well. Let's start upstairs to the booth. And Mike Joy. Mike?
That's a tough one, Chris, but I only know of one driver who really has a pizza oven in his motor coach, and he's won everything else there is to win at Speed Weeks. Tony Stewart.
I woke up this morning, all I saw was twos everywhere. Kurt Busch is my man.
Call me sentimental, but I'm picking the 103 car.
What?
That's the 88 and the 15 come to the line together. Hooked up.
I was amazed he could add. That's what threw me off. All right, how about your pick, Jeff?
I'm going to go with Happy Harvick. I mean, I believe his style of racing, he's kind of sneaky smart, Chris. I really like his style.
Yeah, he's aggressive and tough. You can log on to foxsports.com/Pizza Hut. Vote for your favorite driver you think will win today, and you'll get a chance to win a trip to next year's Daytona 500. Be sure to keep an eye out for updates during the race to see who you, the fans, voted as the Pizza Hut fan favorite driver. Fatigue may be a factor today as drivers take on the realization of a dream. Let's head down for those famous words we always like to hear in racing, but always special at the Daytona 500.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome co-grand marshals and stars of the upcoming movie Transformers: Dark of the Moon, Josh Duhamel, Rosie Huntington-Whiteley, and director Michael Bay as they deliver the most famous words in motorsports.
Thanks, Jim. I want to take a moment to thank all of our troops overseas fighting for us. And now,
Gentlemen, start the engine!
Jeff Hammond, Chris Myers from the Hollywood Hotel, the guys that will take you through another season of the NASCAR on Fox coverage and the Daytona 500. Darrell Waltrip, Larry McReynolds, and Mike Joy. Mike, gentlemen, start your talking.
Thanks, Chris, and hello, everybody. The Daytona 500, NASCAR's biggest race and one of the toughest to win. Took Dale Earnhardt 20 tries. Buddy Baker, 18. DW, 17 years to win it. Bobby Allison, David Pearson, Michael Waltrip, each won it on their 15th try. But today, Darrell, you say this could be the toughest 500 ever to win.
Oh, I think physically and mentally, this is by far and away the toughest one I've seen. This two-car tandem that we've been watching around here takes a lot of focus, a lot of concentration, and the speeds are incredible, over 200 miles an hour all the time. And folks, we just can't make this stuff up. This has been a great week down here with the tribute to Dale and everything else, so it's all good. Junior starting on the pole, he's fallen to the rear, but it's been a good week.
Well, Larry, it's not just having a fast car and good pit stops. Finding a partner, keeping a partner, and all that goes into that, it's pretty tense for 500 miles.
Well, it is. I mean, you're going to be working from the drop of the green flag to hunt your partner that can help you, that you can push, that can be pushed by you. You're going to have to do it through a bunch of pit stops. And by the way, you're going to be doing it for 500 miles. Darrell mentioned physically and mentally. We watched some of these same drivers yesterday for 300 miles. They almost had to pour out of those race cars.
We've been waiting all winter for it. The green flag for the 53rd annual Daytona 500 coming up next on Fox.
And it's hey now, here we go. Gonna get a little bit sideways.
The cars roll off the grid in front of a packed house for the 53rd annual Daytona 500. The skies are petty blue, and the field of 43 begins to form up down toward turn number 1. A beautiful, perfect day for racing. This race is brought to you by Budweiser, the beer that starts with full flavor and ends with a crisp, fast finish. Great times are waiting. Grab some Buds. Chevy is proud to pace the 53rd running of the Great American Race with the 400 horsepower Camaro SS. Try to keep up with it, boys. The cast of Transformers gave the command to start the race, and as part of the parade lap, there are 3 of the Transformer cars. The number 48 is called Wrecker. Has a similar V8 to a Sprint Cup car, a little less compression. Good bit of horsepower there, 510. And oh, by the way, look at all that armor. Now, Jimmy doesn't have quite so much on his 48.
I'm glad.
Let's have a look at the NASCAR on Fox starting lineup for the 500. Dale Earnhardt Jr., 2004 winner. Jeff Gordon, a 3-time winner, have earned the front row. Kurt Busch won the shootout in the duel. Jeff Burton, the winner of his duel race, to secure Road 2. Clint Boyer, Regan Smith, one of the best pushers here. Michael Waltrip trying for 3, and Kevin Harvick, the 07 winner. Kyle Busch, 24 NASCAR wins last year. Matt Kenseth. Brian Keselowski, the Cinderella, the glass slipper fit for him. McMurray, Montoya, teammates. McMurray, the defending champ. Brad Keselowski, Brian's brother, and A.J. Allmendinger. Mark Martin in his 27th 500 with Denny Hamlin. Paul Menard, new to the RCR team, and Martin Truex, 08 winner Ryan Newman with Carl Edwards. Jimmy Johnson, 5-time with David Rudiman. Tony Stewart won his 12th Speed Weeks race yesterday with Greg Biffle. Brian Vickers making his first start with Darlington with Robert Richardson. 2-time 500 winner Bill Elliott with Robbie Gordon. Bobby Labonte in a new ride, and young Trevor Bayne carrying the colors of the Wood Brothers as we look through the rest of the 43-car field. Let's talk to the hot 20-year-old rookie from Knoxville, Tennessee.
Trevor Bayne, DW Fox Sports. Got a copy there, young man?
Yes, sir, I do. How are you guys doing today?
We're really doing well. That was really nice what you did on the cranking up the engine there, the prayer. I really liked that. Good job, buddy. Hey, you're driving the famous 21 car. You've met David Pearson, who's won the Daytona 500 in that car. What's your game plan for today?
The same thing his was, I guess. You know, we're all here to win, but I understand that's my first 500, and I have a lot to learn. But I tell you, man, this fast race car has done me a lot of justice so far these Speed Weeks. These guys, everybody on this Wood Brothers crew has just provided me an awesome race car that I think has the capabilities of running up front. You know, it's just finding that buddy to work with, which I think we built a lot of those relationships this week, and I've got a lot of good support, man. So we're pumped about it.
All right there. Good job through the week here. You've been going to school. Today is graduation. Hope you get this certificate.
All right, guys. I appreciate it. Hopefully we get this Ford Motorcraft up front for you.
The 20th driver to run the 500 for the Wood Brothers. Keep an eye on this man who turned 20 yesterday. He is one to watch. Down to our NASCAR on Fox All-Star Pit Crew, beginning with Matt Yoakum.
Mike, today Jeff Gordon chases his overall 15th victory here at Daytona, 4th in the Great American Race. But each qualifying event or shootout race this week here in Daytona, it's been different variables that Gordon has had to deal with. His drafting buddy, Trevor Bayne, he's starting near the back. His teammates are starting near the back. The big question mark early on, just who will Gordon pair up with early? Chris Devoda?
When Jamie McMurray won this race last year, he cried. And then he went to the media center and cried some more. He says, I know a grown man is not supposed to break down in a room full of people. But when you haven't won a race in a while, you're overwhelmed. And then when you realize that race was the Daytona 500, the floodgates open. Today, he will try to navigate those floods 2 by 2 with his teammate, Juan Pablo Montoya. Dick Berggren?
Well, 20-year-old Joey Logano has had a tough Speed Weeks. He has run in 3 preliminary events and crashed in 3 preliminary events. But the veteran observers say the kid is ready to win and win big this year. That could start here at the Daytona 500 if he can keep it out of the wall. Steve Burns?
Dick, Tony Stewart won here yesterday, giving him 16 Daytona wins, but he has never won the Daytona 500. Would he give up all 16 trophies for one at the Great American Race? Well, listen to Kevin Harvick. Kevin Harvick says that this is the biggest race of the year times 10.
This is the Daytona 500. I mean, you're just on edge with your nerves already. Just the whole experience of the Great American Race.
It's the first race of the year, but it's the biggest race of the year. So, you know, you got the early in the year jitters. You got the nervousness about the Daytona 500, how much it means to win. So there's a lot going on the Daytona 500 morning.
You get the worst night of sleep ever the night before the Daytona 500, and you can't help it. You know, your heart pounds all night long, and you just can't sleep.
The anticipation is really high, and the enthusiasm is really high, and everybody thinks they're going to win a championship, and everybody thinks they're going to win the race.
Just the emotion of the high with all the people, the colors, the atmosphere, you can feel it. It's electric.
The whole field is pretty amped up as you come to the green, and really as a driver, there's really no bigger anticipation than coming to the green flag at the Daytona 500.
The start of a new season, and at this moment, every one of 43 drivers can win the Daytona 500. Every one can be Sprint Cup champion. In a world where most sports play their biggest game at the end of the season, NASCAR does it just the opposite.
It's when the best are at their best.
Today, a whole new style of racing at Daytona. We'll go 200 laps, 500 miles as we always do. 55 on pit road. Fuel window 42 to 46 laps and 4 cars to the back.
And that's going to be huge, but the pit window there, because this racetrack has so much grip. Tires are not going to be that important, but that fuel window certainly could be.
A few things to note as we get ready to go green. Brand new surface at Daytona has led to a new style of racing. The bump and push style of drafting seen at Talladega is now possible at Daytona due to this smooth surface. As mentioned, after 300 miles yesterday, drivers were worn out. Imagine driving in a snowstorm where all you can see are the taillights of the car in front of you and you don't know what's on either side, what's behind you, or what'll happen next. That's what's going to happen here, especially for that driver pushing the car in front. And finally, we'll remember Dale Earnhardt and his legacy with a silent 3rd lap to honor the number 3 that he made famous.
The other thing is a .196 has been the difference in all the races run down here this weekend for the winner.
Set to go green, the Camaro pace car will make the left turn to pit road. And Darrell, it's time to start another season of NASCAR and NASCAR on Fox.
Be nice here, be nice guys. Hold on, hold on. Boogity, boogity, boogity! Let's go racing, boys!
With either a teammate or a convenient partner.
Larry, the same thing we're seeing today is what we saw with that 24 car. Really slow on the get-go. Doesn't seem to get up to speed very well.
Yeah, Jeff Gordon in the dual races with Trevor Bayne pushing him most of that race. Hated to see restarts.
I think Jeff Gordon, maybe he's drifting back in there to find Trevor Bayne in the 21 car.
In the qualifying race, Kurt Busch had help from Regan Smith the whole race long. Smith pushed him to victory, and he has pushed Busch to lead lap 1.
See Michael Waltrip in the 15 car, Kyle Busch in the 18, a couple of Toyotas getting a pretty good run on the high side through 1 and 2 down to the backstretch.
Don't look back. pretty comfortable right here where these guys are, but man, back behind them, pack of wolves.
5 pairs of cars have broken away from the pack where everyone else looks to find a drafting partner. And as they come off 4 and complete lap 2, NASCAR on Fox, and Daytona pay tribute to the man in black, Dale Earnhardt, on this, the 3rd lap of the race. Legacy may not be his 7 championships or all of his victories, but the advances in safety in NASCAR that followed that dark day in 2001.
This two-car draft at the bottom of the racetrack. A.J. Allmendinger in the 43 car, Mark Martin in the 5. Saw these guys work together a lot in practice, and they were fast no matter which one was pushing the other.
Worked together a lot in practice, but I believe this may be the first time we've had them up in the front here fighting for the lead. And that's the way this race unfolds always. So many unexpected, and you never know who's going to rise to the top.
Allmendinger started 13th, Mark Martin 15th. They lead the Daytona 500. Oh, Kyle Busch!
You spin behind you, wave to 7.
Gets it down on the apron without further contact. Jostling further back, but no other collision.
That was luck.
And Rowdy Busch, winner of 24 races across NASCAR's top 3 series last year, has brought out the first caution of the day.
See what happened here up on the outside. Gets a shove from Michael there in the 15 car. Wrong place, wrong time.
The Daytona 500 is sponsored by Sprint, proud sponsor of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. By the new film Transformers, Dark of the Moon, July 1st. This film not yet rated. And by DirecTV. Don't just watch TV, DirecTV.
First caution of the day, pit road, a fairly busy place. Not quite half the cars elected to make stops.
If they made the pit road wider, I think it would make things safer.
Let's have a look at what happened to Michael Waltrip and Kyle Busch coming in from the right side of your screen.
Remember, the drivers say, I can't see past the car in front of me. So Michael really can't see. It looked to me like Kyle in the 18 said, I'm going to get behind the 5, but Michael wasn't ready for him to do that. We talked about how the drivers communicate with each other on their radios. Those two may not have the ability to do that.
Let's have a look from behind the accident, right in the middle of the racetrack.
Darrell, did it almost look like he wanted to first go down there and then had a second thought about it and came back up?
I think he got just a tad loose when he was going to cut to the bottom. I think his car got a little loose, and then Michael was right up on him, and the air just...
From Mark Martin.
3 wide. 18 is wrecking behind you. 18's wrecking behind you, outside.
Now, there does not appear to be major damage to Kyle Busch's car. Here's what he had to say after the spin.
I had to back up because there were 3 wide. There was nowhere to go, so I trail broke a little bit, and it just spun me right out, getting in the corner. Stupidly insane.
Stupidly insane.
Hadn't heard that one yet.
Kyle Busch did get on the radio and say, tell Michael he didn't do anything wrong. There's just not enough real estate. The plan right now is for the 18 of Kyle Busch to come back down pit road. You see him there. He's asking for the toe plate, the alignment on the car. He wants to know, is it toe in or toe out? What is wrong? They said, that's what we have to check. Steve?
Krista, Michael Waltrip said on the radio, I didn't do anything wrong. I stayed right in the middle like he asked me to.
Try to top it off with fuel one more time, so they're just checking all the time.
Aligning the front end on Kyle Busch's Toyota. Here's today's Ford F-150 EcoBoost track facts. It took 6 months to repave Daytona International Speedway, beginning right after the July 4th race. They used 50,000 tons of asphalt, 1.4 million square feet of it. The first complete repaving since 1979, and the cost, $20 million. Spotters all over the place, radio frequencies abuzz. You see spotters up atop our control tower, and radio frequencies were being exchanged in the garage all morning. There are some drivers who can talk to as many as 15 different competitors by selecting them on their radio. However, we are told that the Joe Gibbs teams, including Kyle Busch, refused all requests for their frequencies from other drivers and said, if you want to communicate with our driver, go through their spotter up on the roof instead of trying to talk to them directly.
He would have been wise to have had Michael's radio frequency in that situation there. We're coming to the green, but real quickly, trail braking. When you get a gap between you and the guy that was pushing you, you want to ride the brake a little bit and let that guy ease back up on you. Looks like they just didn't time it right.
Kevin Harvick on the inside of race leader A.J. Allmendinger as they restart double file. Harvick Chevrolet has help from Matt Kenseth's Ford, while Mark Martin stays glued to the back bumper of former road racer A.J. Allmendinger in the 43.
Yeah, immediately after that restart, we're seeing the same two driver tandems that we saw before the caution flag at the front of the field.
Now, folks at home, I know you would say, well, with these guys running that close together, wouldn't his engine get hot? That's been a big issue down here for the last several days, trying to be able to push a guy in front of you for long periods of time and not cook your engine. Something the drivers are really going to have to pay attention to.
For the lead, Harvick, past winner of the 500 and one of the best closers in the business. In the closing laps, you watch for that 29 to come through the field. He's trying to lead a lap here from A.J. Allmendinger. Not this one. The Ford stays out front.
But look at that wad of cars behind these top six. I mean, they're 3 wide for 8 rows deep.
They're fighting for a position. I'm just not sure which one. And I don't think they are either. They're just trying to find somebody to help you get by all this if you can.
And you've got to have a partner, because one car pushing another can be several miles an hour faster than any single car all by itself. On the high side, Big Daddy Jeff Gordon beginning his drive for 5 for a 5th championship. Brian Vickers pushing a former teammate of Gordon's. He is back after a year's illness, cleared by doctors to drive after heart surgery, and nobody wants to win more than Vickers. Check that. Casey Kane in the 4 is the car pushing Jeff Gordon. His car painted identical to that of Brian Vickers. Different number, Kane in the 4. Now, Dale Jr. had to start this race from the back, but his 88's coming to the front. 8th place and coming.
We've seen these two guys. These two guys actually wrecked in practice. That was, oh, we got a smoker up in here. Somebody's got something blowing out. Who is it?
J.J. Yaley, who raced his way into the 500 with a fine drive in Thursday's qualifying race. Drifting to the middle of the pack and trailing smoke. Caution is out for the 2nd time.
Yeah, I'd say he's putting down some oil. Got to be careful here, boys, racing back to this caution.
Junior almost got turned around by Martin Truex.
See, no, I don't understand that. They didn't get the message. The caution was out. They kept racing.
When the caution comes out. Yeah, 10-4. I never heard NASCAR say it, man.
Now watch the 88 coming to the caution flag, and Martin Truex tucked up underneath him.
They don't know the caution's out. You just heard Junior getting on his spotter. They think, man, this is going to be easy right here.
Boy, that'd like to have been big right there. And the irony of that, when he wrecked in Wednesday's practice, it was Martin Truex Jr. in the 56 that was behind him that turned him sideways because they couldn't see.
This caution flag is a break for the 18 because he did not get up to speed on the restart. Kyle Busch.
Watch these two guys. The same thing happened in practice. They ran up on some slow cars that were coming up to speed, I guess we should say. Jimmy Johnson right there. See those slow cars down to the right of the screen. They ran up on them, had to check up. Jimmy did, and that's how Junior ended up in a backup car. Same with Martin. Junior really disappointed, but I think he's going to be fine.
After winning the Daytona 500 pole, that practice crash put Dale Jr. in this backup car for today's race.
But you saw that cheerleader there standing beside him after that wreck. 3 of the 4 Hendrick drivers working with new teams and new crew chiefs in 2011. That was Steve Letarte, who used to be with Jeff Gordon.
Larry, 11 laps complete. Do you pit?
I think you're going to see a lot of guys take advantage of this and come to pit road for fuel only. You almost never pass up an opportunity, Steve Burns, to put fuel in your car.
Matt Kenseth in the 17 hits pit road. It's going to be fuel only. Jimmy Johnson's going to stop right in front of him. Matt.
And Jeff Gordon said his car was skaty when he went high. They made a slight adjustment, so he has more grip, and they're topping him off with fuel, Krista.
Kevin Harvick said he would do what Matt Kenseth did. They said Matt's coming in for fuel only. Almost a collision at the end of pit road. Kevin takes fuel only also.
There's the race off pit road. Fuel only for all of the top 10. We're under caution for the second time in the Daytona 500 on Fox.
The Daytona 500 on Fox is sponsored by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some Bud.
Second caution of the day in the Daytona 500 as you watch our aerial coverage brought to you by DirecTV. Don't just watch TV, DirecTV. Dale Jr. and Martin Truex getting together as they came to the caution flag. After the caution came out, we heard this.
Got a couple cars coming to run on the far outside up here. Here you go. Got two outside, two outside, two outside. Comes out.
Gotta watch your caution light when the caution comes out.
Yeah, 10-4. I never heard NASCAR say it, man. I can't see the lights that good.
Yeah, 10-4.
I would suggest to my spotter, get somewhere where you can, because that could have been disastrous.
Normally the spotters are scanning NASCAR and they know exactly when they say put it out, meaning the caution's coming out.
I didn't even know they relied on the light so much as they just did, like you said, unless NASCAR never got the word out, but everybody else slowed down.
We talked about Trevor Bayne making his first start for the Wood brothers, only his second Sprint Cup race. Just turned 20 yesterday. Dick Berggren, how's he doing?
I think he's doing pretty well, Mike. He just made a pit stop for fuel, and before the start of the race, I went to him and had him hold his hands straight out. Asked if he was nervous. Not one finger twitched. This kid is solid as a rock for his first Daytona 500.
Here's what he had to say the other night about drafting with Jeff Gordon in his qualifying race.
That was unbelievable to have Jeff Gordon, you know, the guy that I've looked up to my whole life and my racing career. My first number was 24. I don't even know if anybody knows that, but just because of Jeff. So to have him come up right before the race, when I'm sitting here thinking, man, I don't know who my partner's going to be. I don't know what's going to happen. I guess I'll just sink and then pick somebody up and go to the front again. So Jeff Gordon's like, hey, man, I'll work with you. I said, really? You know, I didn't think it was serious at first. And then we ended up getting together there, and he stayed loyal to us, and I stayed right on his butt the whole time, just pushed him, you know. And, you know, that was just unbelievable to be working with Jeff in the first race that I was in here.
When I was listening, before I spoke to him on the parade lap, I was listening to he and his team communicate. He prayed. He said a prayer for he and his team before they rolled off. So a really quality young man.
Scanning radios, Dale Earnhardt Jr. worries he may have a tire going soft.
That's the chance you take coming down fueling only. Run over something or have a soft tire.
Our top 15 cars on this restart, they stayed out. They pitted that first caution back on lap 6.
So Brad Keselowski, the new driver of the Blue Deuce for Roger Penske, leads them to the green flag. Bobby Labonte in the 47. Stephen Wallace, a rookie, in the 77. Terry Labonte, the 32. Paul Menard in the 27. Then Tony Stewart, Jamie McMurray, and David Rudiman. Let's crank it up. wide and worrisome. That's what restarts are here at Daytona.
You know, a lot of the guys that have been coming here for years, they kind of view the preliminary events as just practice. But on Sunday, the Daytona 500, usually think the veterans show up. Bobby Labonte, he's a veteran.
Got some Chevrolets, though, ganging up there on the outside. Paul Menard, remember, this is a 4th Richard Childress racing car for 2011, getting pushed by Tony Stewart in that 14 car.
Last year's winner slipping in the picture as well. Jamie McMurray in the 1 car with his teammate in tow, 42, Juan Montoya.
Joey Logano in the 20. Dale Jr., the 88, slipped to the inside, move up to 5th and 6th. Before they went green, Mark Martin looked aside at Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s tires and said everything looked fine.
Probably when he dropped down off the track coming to get that, when he realized the caution was out, may have picked up a lot of dirt and debris on his tires off the apron. That'll give you a false sense of a flat tire.
Jeff Gordon running down on the inside. Here's Matt.
Mike, he appreciated the help from the 4 of Casey Kane, but he's been looking for his new little buddy, the 21 of Trevor Bayne. But under that caution, Gordon had a lot of questions about all the unknown variables so far.
Does that mean we have to call Gordon the skipper?
Remember what that 20 was like in that shootout practice everybody's been talking about. It's just really squirrely.
Yeah, I mean, we're not his pusher or anything, you know. It's always every other car, so trying to figure out if we're a pusher or a puller.
"16 cars out front, 8 pairs of 2. The front car, the puller, the back car, the pusher, and they have to stay in contact to maintain maximum speed."
Yeah, it's really synchronized. I mean, you have to work absolutely in unison with the guy in front of you. If he moves, you got to move with him. And then you got to stick the nose out of your car out every now and then and get some air on it too. So a lot going on behind the wheel of these cars this time.
You know, we mentioned Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 88 pushing that orange car, Joey Logano in the 20. Remember, both those cars had to start this race at the rear of the field in backup cars.
And they now run 7th and 8th.
Junior's old backup car is not a bad piece. Jeff Gordon drove that car last year at Talladega, finished 8th in it, so it's all right.
The 1 of Jamie McMurray up high, making the swap with Juan Pablo Montoya.
That was pretty cool right there.
That was perfect.
That was great.
They timed that perfect. You have to do that because, as Darrell mentioned, you can only follow directly behind another driver because the car will start to overheat. But what a swap those guys pulled
That
off.
was a thing of beauty.
Greg Biffle with Carl Edwards now.
Teammates working together. You see him working the throttle a little bit, man. Carl had to get out of the, or Biffle had to get out of the gas there for a second. I gotta believe I've never done this. I've never pushed somebody all the way around the racetrack like this. Always on the straightaway. This has got to be the most nerve-wracking, intense, physically demanding job that a driver could ever have.
Quite a run that car on the outside, that 47 car. Remember, that's a new look and a new team for Bobby Labonte, being pushed by Brad Keselowski in the 2.
Paul Menard, your leader in the Daytona 500. This summer, Earth Goes Dark from director Michael Bay, executive producer Steven Spielberg. Transformers, Dark of the Moon, in theaters everywhere in 3D, July 1st. Caution is out for the 3rd time in the Daytona 500. Kevin Harvick appeared to lose an engine off turn number 2, and his car slowed up. There's Harvick's car going to the garage. Jeff Gordon got into the back of Robbie Gordon. We'll show you that in a bit. First pit stops. Steve.
Mike, Tony Stewart said no handling issues whatsoever. He's going to get fuel only. Matt.
The 24, Jeff Gordon, making his way to his stall so that Alan Gustafson can take a look to make sure that there isn't any damage to that nose. There is some slight cosmetic damage. They've got some bear bond to fix that. 3 seconds of fuel for the 24, Krista.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. made the call for fuel only. He also said he needs to know more about what that car in front of him is doing.
There's the race off pit road. Former IndyCar and Formula One star Juan Pablo Montoya over Jamie McMurray, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. picks up 9 spots coming off pit road. Here is the damage to Jeff Gordon's car. Here's what happened at turn 2.
You know, Larry and Mike, I'm almost thinking, I know there's smoke and it's probably pretty hard to see, but Trevor Bayne is right on him. I think he was afraid to slow down too quickly, afraid that Trevor might turn him around. So I think it was a combination of smoke and then somebody right on his back bumper.
Outside him, right in front of us, man, right in front of us is a blown engine. Get down.
We got in the back of the 7 pretty hard.
10-4.
Jeff Gordon trying to win his 4th Daytona 500. There's a bit of damage to the bumper cover.
We've seen these things go out through the grass pretty hot and heavy and come right back up on the track and continue on. This nose they got on this car this year, Larry, is a tough son of a gun.
Well, it is, you know, but it's the most sensitive part of that race car. But one thing I did notice, Trevor Bayne in the 21, he did check up behind Jeff Gordon in the 24 when he saw that smoke.
Gordon gets repair and back on track. Now, on a previous restart, Kyle Busch had trouble getting up to speed. They said they were still having trouble with the toe-in on his car. That's the adjustment of to which way the front wheels are pointing relative to one another. They brought him back in under that next caution and got it squared away.
Boy, that's a sick feeling right there, man.
Yep, the 2007 winner, Kevin Harvick,
20 laps into the Daytona 500, and you're going home.
And he won 2 of the 4 carburetor restrictor plates last year. But Darrell, we don't know exactly what went on. There's his owner, Richard Childress, owns those 4 cars. But we were a little concerned, especially as hot as it's going to be today, how much of a toll it was going to take on these engines with what they're trying to do out there.
The speeds we're seeing, the RPM we're seeing, the temperature in the engine, we're asking that engine to do an awful lot.
Kevin's last DNF due to engine trouble 152 races ago. Dick?
You never blow motors. What happened today?
Yeah, they're suspecting a broken block or broken head. Didn't do anything different than what I had been doing. We had just a 10-15 more degree oil temp than what we had been, and I pulled out from behind the 17 when I felt like I got to the point where I needed to pull out, and just the bottom fell out of it. So it's hate it for everybody on this Budweiser Chevrolet, everybody from Jimmy John's and Budweiser, but tough way to start the year. But man, like you say, we never blow motors. Everybody at ECR does a great job.
And Kevin Harvick last year had the best results of anyone at Daytona Speedway. Out already today.
And he could be in, like he said, not a good way to start, because guess how many points he got today? Right now, if he continues to be the first car out of the race.
1 under the new point system.
And 1 is a lonely number.
Well, actually, he gets 2 points, Darrell, because he led a couple of laps.
Well, then 2 is a lonely number.
Steve, how about smoke?
Well, Mike, what they noticed when Tony stopped to get fuel only was he had a considerable amount of oil on the front bumper of his car. Now, he has been pushing Paul Menard. Paul Menard, of course, is Kevin Harvick's teammate. So I'll bet you the 14 is going to look for a different drafting partner there. They think that the 27 may have an engine problem just like his teammate did.
And just remember, Steve, that's another ECR engine. In fact, there were 9 of those engines that started this Daytona 500.
Coming to green with Clint Boyer leading the Daytona 500. Another Richard Childress car. Regan Smith behind. And on the outside, Kurt Busch with Brian Keselowski. That's Brad's older brother outside in that white car, number 92. They came down here with 1 car, 1 engine, and 1 set of tires. They made the race. They picked up a sponsor. Ray Evernham said, I'll pay your tire bill. Penske offered him an engine that they couldn't use because it was too new to fit in their car, but he's in the 500.
Yeah, actually the crowd from home, Save My Fairgrounds, sent a little money down to get their name on Brian's car. So picked up a little bit here and there, but that discount tire is probably paying some pretty good bills for him right now.
Jamie McMurray, proud new dad of son Carter, and the defending 500 champion. He's got the lead with Montoya behind him, and they're 3 wide to the stripe again. Who's going to lead this lap? Boyer.
That 88 car, Larry, he just keeps inching closer to the lead, and we will know without a doubt when he takes it.
Junior Nation will let us know.
Oh, yeah.
Kurt Busch and Regan Smith going backwards in the high lane. Here comes Jeff Burton with Brad Keselowski on the bottom, the 31 and the 2.
Just remember, Dale Earnhardt Jr., through virtue of starting this race at the back of the field in 27 laps with 3 cautions, he's worked his way right there into the top 2.
Yeah, this, if you got to start in the back, it's not a bad place to have to do it. Always got the chance to draft your way right to the front, and that's what he's done.
9 different drivers have led this Daytona 500 as Boyer hauls them around for a second time. McMurray and Montoya, and 2 fast forwards right behind them. David Reagan in the 6 and rookie Trevor Bayne in the 21 of the Wood brothers.
And just remember, David Reagan in that 6 car, that's a backup car that had to start at the rear of the field as well.
Riding with Mark Martin.
Looks pretty easy, doesn't it?
We know better.
Think you could drive a car, folks, at home 200 miles an hour?
Closer together than most people park?
Yeah, 200 miles an hour with somebody pushing.
Trouble, turn 3.
Big wreck.
Brian Keselowski, David Rudeman, Michael Waltrip, Matt Kenseth,
Big
and
wreck.
half the field.
I see about 3 of the Hendrick cars there that's involved.
Mark Martin is there. I see him. There's a Biffle. Jimmy Johnson's laying over there. There's a 24 car. Looks pretty bad.
Brian Vickers limping around. And Mark Martin is part of it. Greg Biffle got a piece of it. Joe Nemechek's right front all torn up. The 9 of Marcus Ambrose.
Let's see if we can figure out what happened here, Larry. They're running awfully close together.
Watch the top right of your screen coming
right up
in.
Here.
Michael into his teammate Rudeman.
Got Rudeman loose.
Right in front of Keselowski. Here comes Nemechek. Pow into Michael.
Look at, nope, didn't make it. Didn't make it.
Brian Keselowski, we just talked about, was involved. That white car up against the wall there.
There's Mark Martin down here, Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon. My. Let's see if we can see anything. Well, there's not a whole lot to see. Michael just got into the back of the. Tony Stewart did the same thing to Michael in the Bud shootout. Got into him pretty hard and turned him around right there and got Michael with it.
And Darrell, everybody was going to the apron, but those cars sliding off 31 degrees of banking, that's where they're going to end up.
It's kind of an old saying down here. What goes down must come up. And you try to go around on the outside if you can.
Jimmy Johnson's 48 just barely got into the back of Matt Kenseth to do enough damage to the right front.
The old Aaron Stream machine, she's done.
Marcus Ambrose is going to the garage for repair. Michael Waltrip's car comes steaming toward the garage.
Brian Vickers in the 83 car gets a lot of damage. Marcus Ambrose in the 9.
Look at that. 3 Hendrick cars, 24, 48, and 5, all slamming into each other.
Back it down, back it down, back it down. Come on. Still coming. We're front hand over here, guys. We're here to the right side.
And now riding with Mark Martin.
You still 3 in front of you. Get down if you can. Get back up. Get back up. 9 car to spun us. 83 in the door.
And Jeff Gordon's view.
22 right in front of us. Right in front of us. Check it up. Check up. Check up. Check up. Check up. Check up. Get up.
Jimmy Johnson.
Side 2 wide in front of you. In front of you. In front of you.
Bergeron is with David Rudeman.
Well, whose fault was that?
I don't know. It's a product of this kind of racing. You know, it's Mike was pushing me, and I don't think when I anticipated the guys moving up in front of us as quick as I did, and it's not Mike's fault. I just probably didn't get on the radio quick enough to give him a heads up. He's doing what he's supposed to do. He's pushing. That's all you can do when you're behind, and you can't see. You got to rely on the guy in front of you to help you. And I was probably a little slow on the draw there, giving him the heads up what was going on in front of us, and here we are.
Crew going to be able to get this back out on the racetrack, David?
It'll be a miracle.
Okay, miracles sometimes happen in the Daytona 500.
Jeff Gordon is in the garage. 3 of the 4 Rick Hendrick cars, all but Dale Jr., have gone to the garage. 2 of the 3 Michael Waltrip cars involved. Defending series champ Jimmy Johnson in the garage as well. Greg Biffle has also gone to the garage. You can make light repairs on pit road, but if major work is needed, the cars have to go behind the wall or back to their garage stall.
And Darrell and them talked about it in the pre-race. This new point system, it's going to take longer to overcome a bad finish, I think, than it did with the old system.
And don't forget, you got to be able to run a minimum speed, so you got to have the car in pretty good shape to run minimum speed.
A grinding crash puts us under caution for the 4th time in Daytona.
The Daytona 500 on Fox is delivered by Pizza Hut. Rev it up with all your favorite pizzas at low prices. Your favorites, your Pizza Hut. Glad you're watching the Daytona 500 on Fox, and an action-packed 45 minutes of activity here. At least 15 cars involved in the latest crash, including some of the headliners here in the 53rd running of the Great American Race. In the first 5 laps, we had 5 lead changes. Overall, there have been 10 different leaders. Pit road is open. Junior is in. Kurt Busch is in. Let's check down on the pits with Matt Yoakum.
Chris, the guy who's taken all the money so far during Speed Week, Kurt Busch in the Double Deuce. He slides to a stop. He goes over the line. Mistake for Busch. They're going to have to back him up and then continue on with the stop. 4 tires for the Double Deuce. Krista.
Dale Jr. was told by his crew chief, Steve Letarte, things usually get conservative after a big wreck like that. Dale Jr. said, I sure hope so. 4 tires for Dale.
Our AT&T race break bringing you this update. And you can tell us your favorite by texting the car number to the pit crew you think will be the fastest in today's race to 234567. The AT&T Fastest Pit Crew Award brought to you by AT&T, the nation's fastest mobile broadband network. And let's check in with Steve Burns, who is standing by with Jeff Gordon.
Thank you, Chris. Wild scene down here. Mechanics running from all parts of pit road. And Jeff, I know you've assessed all 4 corners of your race car. Discuss the damage.
Well, it doesn't really matter at this point. Our chances to win the Daytona 500 are over. That's the disappointing part. This drive to Hunger Chevrolet was really fast. Got hooked up with Trevor Bayne again. Had some help from Casey Kane there at the beginning, so we were having a lot of fun. You know, I totally get the 2-car drafting, and I think that we're going to see a lot more of it. What I don't quite understand is why guys are doing it 3 wide, 3 deep, running for 28. You know, we need to, they need to let it thin out a little bit. As soon as it thins out, then go to it, you know, and it can be very safe and pretty harms-free. But, you know, you're sitting there, like right there, I was just sitting back there just kind of riding along there, just waiting for it to thin out. And I probably should have waited even further back. But, you know, you see them, and they're pushing and shoving up the middle, down the back straightaway, and you're like, what are they doing, you know? And you can understand those guys in the first 2 or 3 rows, you know, go ahead. They're going to go out there and do it. But anyway, that's disappointing. It's going to be a heck of a race to watch. I think the finish is going to be unbelievable. We're going to see a lot more of what we just saw. It's hot, a little slicker today. The cars aren't sticking quite as good as they were the other day. Unfortunately for us, the damages are that it's going to take a while for us to get it fixed, and we'll get back out there and get as many laps in as we can.
Thank you, Jeff. Let's go to Dick Berggren.
With Marcos Ambrose, and behind him, the crew has brought an entire new nose, fenders, hood, front grille. Can they get this thing back into the race?
Yeah, we'll get it back going again. These Stanley Guides fantastic, but just a terrible way to start our season. You know, in the duel, I kind of lost the draft. I didn't have a playing partner. I was so worried about it then. I just was pushing forward, trying to be safe, and you get caught up in the mess. But, you know, it's just what it is. Everyone's trying to work out how this race is going to be run, and unfortunately, didn't end too well for us.
Okay, thank you. Chris?
Thanks, Dick. The AT&T fastest pit crew of the year is back. Last season, Jeff Gordon and that 24 pit crew repeated as winners of the award. On behalf of the crew, AT&T donated $25,000 to the Victory Junction Game Camp organization. You can text who you think will win this one to 234-567. Speaking of Jeff Gordon, remember he came in with a winless streak of 65. So an upsetting day for him here, Mike, at the Daytona 500.
Thank you, Chris. Double Daytona 500 winner Michael Waltrip gets into teammate David Rudiman and ignites a 17-car pileup, 12 cars to the garage, 5 damaged cars still on track. Quapple, Allmendinger, Matt Kenseth, Mark Martin, and Kurt Busch. Now, the first 6 cars did not pit under this caution. So Jamie McMurray, last year's 500 winner, and his teammate at Earnhardt Ganassi Racing, when Paulo Montoya will lead them down for the green. Then David Reagan, Trevor Payne, Martin Truex, Bobby Labonte. Those are the cars that did not pit.
Mike, you're probably the safest in the front, the way it looks. Especially listen to what Jeff Gordon had to say.
That's the 37 Robert Richardson dropping down out of line and lets them all go.
We're actually hearing that he's got to drop to the back of the field because of a pit road speeding penalty, Robert Richardson Jr. in that 37 car.
Well, you know, based on what Jeff Gordon said, the problem you have is this is a race. And some of these guys, when the green flag comes out, they race everybody. And that's what you get paid to do.
And as you say, Darrell, the safest place to be is out front, so let's get there.
Get on up there.
Stephen Wallace, a rookie, running in 4th place with one of the most experienced drivers at Daytona, Bobby Labonte. Now Labonte down to the middle and picks up Wallace's 77 once again. On the bottom comes Menard and Boyer coming through.
And not only is this his first Daytona 500, this is his first Sprint Cup Series start, period. Stephen Wallace in the 77.
His dad, Rusty, the 1989 Series champion. Jimmy Johnson's drive for 6 consecutive championships has hit a pothole. Steve.
And Jimmy Johnson sits in his battered race car. Mike, 14 mechanics working on this car simultaneously. About the only part of sheet metal that isn't bent is the rear bumper and the deck lid. Heavy damage to the right side and to the front of this number 48 car for Jimmy Johnson. He stays in the race car.
Since he won the 500 in 2006, he's not finished better than 27. Paul Menard back to the lead with help from his Richard Childress teammate Clint Boyer.
And Clint Boyer in that 33 car, he has been a great pusher all week long of speed weeks, whether it's been Paul Menard in the 500 or his teammate Jeff Burton in the 31 in the Gatorade Dual Race.
Paul Menard looks like he found him a new home, and he's going to like that pretty well. He was with Richard Petty Motorsports last year. Now he's over here with Richard Childress. Slugger Labby is crew chief, getting a pretty nice ride right now.
And up in the high groove, former teammates at DEI, Martin Truex and Dale Jr., the 56 and 88.
And Mike, it's pretty obvious those two have made a deal. They've been together in practice. They've worked pretty closely together. They're very comfortable with each other. That is so critical right now. Be comfortable with the guy you're running with.
Yeah, not only were they teammates, remember Martin Truex Jr. is 2-time Nationwide Series champion. His owner, Dale Earnhardt Jr. when he did it.
Some years ago, the two of them spent an awful lot of time racing each other on video games. Down to the garage, Steve Burns.
And Michael Waltrip walking through the garage. 2 Daytona 500 victories, but it won't happen today. What happened out there, Michael?
Well, I just didn't get the information soon enough. You know, I'm pushing David against him a little bit, but he said, give me some room, and I was giving him room, and then right at the last second, he said, gotta go low, gotta go low. And then all of a sudden, you know, we're sideways. So same thing with Kyle. He decided at the last second, he said, I'm going up the middle. And when you change directions, pushing in the corner, it's just a recipe for disaster. So as a driver, I'm frustrated. As an owner, it's expensive. But as a fan, this is a Daytona 500, and I can't wait to go get on my toolbox and watch those boys battle. This is big-time stuff, the biggest prize in racing. And I got Martin Truex. I got one more bullet. Let's go see if he can get it done.
Thanks, Michael.
Truex right now running in 8th. I think the surprise of this whole week, as we watch Truex and Jr. and on the outside, McMurray and Montoya, is that black number 78 of Regan Smith, the former Rookie of the Year from Cato, New York, near Syracuse. He drives for Barney Visser in a car that's prepared by Joe Garone and crew in Denver. Not Denver, North Carolina, near Mooresville and Concord, where the rest of these teams are, but Denver, Colorado. And they come down here and they push Kurt Busch to victory in the qualifying race. And Smith has shown he can work with anybody and he can keep his car up front. Now, last pit stop, the car that Smith pushed to victory on Thursday, Kurt Busch, had some issues. Matt?
Mike, it was a chain reaction of problems. Busch slid through his pit box. He backed up, he stalled the car, and then when he refired, watch the rear tire changer. Jonathan Billy, he goes to work. When Busch refires, there's a flash fire, catches him in the face. He backs away, loses a couple split seconds, and then he'll go back around like a true professional he is, hits the lugs on that right rear, and continues to work on the left rear. True athletes down here on pit road.
And what he did, he stalled the engine, and there was a lot of raw fuel in that exhaust pipe that ignited when the engine refired.
Good thing those pipes come out the right side.
Of the 12 cars that went to the garage in that lap 29 crash, one has returned. Jimmy Johnson. Let's take an inside look at what's happening now in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, brought to you by Sprint and HTC Evo 4G. Clint Boyer has the fastest lap of the race, just over 200 miles an hour. And the biggest mover, who started out back, Dale Earnhardt Jr. has gained 30 positions since the drop of the green. Fuel your inner NASCAR fan with live in-car audio and real-time stats. Available on NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile and the new HTC Evo 4G, only from Sprint at sprint.com/speed.
You know, one of the things that we are all concerned about, I know I was the weather today. It's going to be hotter. Man, we got a gaggle going across here. It's going to be hotter. It was going to be, this track gets slicker. And we've talked about grip down here for the last 10 days, but today, I got to believe the track's a little bit less grippy than it's been in the last several days.
Dave Blaney driving for Tommy Baldwin and Al Hankey on, car in the wall, front straightaway. And it is Richardson, Robert Richardson, into the inside wall, coming toward the start-finish line. And that will put us under caution for the 5th time.
Yeah, tied off the corner. Near him.
I just think that's right back to what I was saying about the track. I think it's given up some grip that these guys have had down here when it's been at night, been cool. This place gets slick in the daytime.
Single car crash for Richardson. Matt Kenseth will get the free pass. He'll come around and pick up one of the laps that he is down.
But Mike, you just mentioned it. He's leading it right now. Dave Blaney in that 36 car just had taken the lead. This was a team and a driver that had to wait to the second dual race to see if they were even going to make the Daytona 500. They came down here with no sponsor on that race car. Just got this sponsor done last night.
Here's what happened to the 37. Robert Richardson. Oof.
Sure glad they put that safer barrier down along that inside wall there, because we've had a lot of people get into it.
Hard hit. Travis Kvapil is the car behind. And this is the second caution in a row, watching from our Fox Exmo extreme slow motion cam, where we've had one car trying to help another and instead taking them out of the race.
Yeah, that's actually teammates right there. Robert Richardson and the other car that got into the back of him.
And in both cases, I think a lot of it has been the guy in the front had to get up out of the gas a little bit, or something happened with the car in the front. The guy behind him just runs over him.
In other sports, stealing signals from another team or listening to radio communication would result in a fine and an investigation. But here, Darrell, we have drivers not just talking to their own teammates on a second channel, but able to dial up other teams as well. Look at this.
You can see here, these are all frequencies in the radio for different cars. They've been working hard here. They got a number of radios in the car. And it's all because of this new style of racing we're doing here at Daytona. And Mike, This style of racing kind of reminds me of back in the day. Back in '59, he came here the first time. He said, "What's that thing called, a draft? What are they talking about? What are they talking about? A two-car draft?" Dick Berggren.
Trevor Bayne, the youngest driver with the oldest team, the Wood Brothers, is about to pit. He's going to take on fuel. They've got a tire on the wall. Whether that goes on or not, we'll see. Mike Smith, the gas man, only man left from last year's team. Matt.
Kurt Busch promised this time he would hit his marks right on the money. Fuel only for the 22. Krista.
The defending Daytona 500 winner feels like his car is getting just a little bit tight. He said he's not uneasy yet, but they're going to make a track bar adjustment one round up to give his car a better feel. Steve?
Krista, Greg Biffle just out of the garage, back out onto the racetrack. The team did a great job replacing the radiator in his number 16 car. Also, he has a lot of damage to the right rear of that number 16.
Thanks, Steve. And Bill Elliott, a two-time winner, assumes the lead in the 500 as Robert Richardson spins off Travis Kvapil's bumper to bring out the caution.
The Daytona 500 on Fox is sponsored by Toyota.
Come on out and dance, you get the chance. We're gonna spin on the round. All I wanna know, are you wanna go? Fighting for survival.
Checkered flag. Dale Earnhardt finally is a champion of the Daytona 500. Here they come, checkered flag. Harvick.
They're wrecking everywhere.
Underneath the stars, and we park the car.
Many of the sport's most dramatic moments have happened right here in the Daytona 500, which takes the green flag at the quarter pole. 50 laps down, 150 to go. Terry Labonte, for the first time since 2004, leads the Daytona 500.
The Labonte boys are having a pretty good day. Bobby's up there earlier, you know, fighting for the lead. Now Terry's brought him to the green flag. Dave Blaney's up there getting pushed by the 22 car.
Yeah, Kurt Busch has latched onto the back of that 36 car of Dave Blaney. You know, two drivers I'm very impressed with that they've not really flexed their muscle so far. Those two drivers in the outside line there, the one car of McMurray, the 42 car of Montoya, they've not showed a lot of speed up until today.
I think they're just kind of playing that old possum game, you know.
Oh, Blaney lost his drafting partner, and now it's a trio on the inside lane. Menard has picked up Kurt Busch, who leads him across the stripe, and now it is Menard to the outside with Regan Smith going by to retake the lead. So if two cars are far better than one, why not three?
Well, you already heard, you can second guess, but you can't third guess. And that's really what you're doing when you're running behind the guy in front of you. You're sort of anticipating and second guessing where he's going to go. The third guy is just odd man out. He would be lost in the shuffle.
But if you watched the Daytona 500 a year ago, you did not see this style of racing. So what has changed? Well, one, since they resurfaced Talladega a few years ago, teams have been learning about this every time we've raced there. With this new surface that Darrell talked about in the pre-race, no bumps, no dips, perfectly smooth, a lot of grip, they're able to do it without upsetting another car. Plus, cooling systems in these cars have advanced so much.
Paul Menard, your leader. His crew chief Slugger Labbe went to victory lane in the 500 with Michael Waltrip in 2003. Sponsifiers back for 2011, and this year the winning designer gets a personal visit from their favorite driver. Go to ToyotaRacing.com for all new ways to create, customize, and share your design. That's Terry Labonte in the 32 you saw alongside, and for the lead, here comes Boyer pounding back on the outside with his Childress teammate Jeff Burton. 3 Richard Childress Racing Chevys among the top 4.
And I want to clarify something. All 4 of these cars have what we spoke of earlier, a ECR engine package. What that is an engine company that was formed about 3 years ago, a merger between Dale Earnhardt Incorporated's engine company and Richard Childress's engine company. They have 9 engines that started this Daytona 500.
When Dale Earnhardt built DEI, one of the things he really focused on was an engine program. He wanted to have an engine program that was equivalent to the Hendricks or to the Roush or whomever. He really hired a lot of great people to work at DEI. When Dale Jr. and them left, Richard Childress said, look, I got people, you got people. If we put them together, we should have an awesome group, and they have had.
Now, they've led the league in horsepower, won the Daytona 500 last year with Jamie McMurray. Good news, Robert Richardson released from the care center after his crash to bring out the last caution. Matt?
Mike, back on the caution, we gave you a look at the impressive radio setup that Jeff Burton and the other RCR cars are utilizing here in Daytona. Back during testing, Todd Berry went to Racing Radios and said, I need you to work up a system where a driver can flip from channel to channel easily with a glove on. So there's an extra large toggle switch just so the RCR cars can talk. Then Burton has a second radio, and it's almost like an art project that his 10-year-old son Harrison put together. Above the roll bar, there's a listing color-coordinated chart of the different teams on the second radio. And then on the steering wheel, another diagram. So they've got everything covered radio-wise in the RCR camp.
And the other thing they've got is they've got a new push-to-talk button. It tapes to the steering wheel, not onto the spoke of the steering wheel. So a driver can literally ride with his thumb on the push-to-talk button without having to really move his hands around. See, when you're out there racing, Mike, you don't know, they had a big wreck, but you don't know how many cars are out of the race, how many cars are still, you don't know anything. You're just driving your car in your own little world, and you're going to race just as hard as if there were 100 cars out there.
Darrell, I don't like that backpack. That's just too much 3 wide, too close, too many fellas not paired up. That looks like trouble.
They're almost 4 wide as they enter the tri-oval.
Well, as we always say, that's the eye of the storm going there.
Darrell, how does this kind of racing wear on you?
Well, if you didn't have those gloves on, you'd see a lot of white knuckles. That's all I can tell you. It physically wears you out.
This is Brian Vickers, who just came out of the garage after damage from the big pileup. He's not going to make it back around to the garage. Now Greg Biffle is back on track. Jimmy Johnson came out of the garage, made a lap, and went back to the garage. The last time by, we saw a good bit of contact in the pack, and caution is out for Brian Vickers. His car is in harm's way, and look at Stewart. Boy, he got a little bite from the left side from Jamie Mack.
I think these guys have got so many voices in their head. They got so much going on that when the caution comes out, they're not slowing down like normal. That's just, the caution comes out and you bam, you start running into people. And I just wonder, Larry, if the spotters have so much going on that they just can't get the message out quick enough.
I think the drivers and the spotters are just very busy with a lot going on, obviously on the racetrack, but a lot going on in their ears.
I hear voices.
It was sorted out after Thursday's race that in some cases of a pair-up, the spotter for the back car would spot for both, and there's a lot of that conversation up on the roof about who pairs up with who. You're not just driving your own car anymore, are you?
One of the spotters told me, he said, you know, normally I take a backup battery in case I run one of my initial battery down. One spotter told me he has 8 charged and ready to go batteries for his radios.
Mark Martin, who received some damage in the lap 29 crash, gets the free pass. He is back up on the lead lap. There's a look at Mark, who's in his 27th Daytona 500.
And I'm also told that some of the drivers have a spare battery for their radio in the car.
And let me correct, Mark was 3 laps down. He gets one of those back. The last free pass went to Matt Kenseth, and that did put Matt back up on the lead lap.
And simply, the free pass was created a number of years ago because we don't race back to the caution. So the first car a lap down, or in the case of Mark Martin, he's the first car 3 laps down. He gets one of those laps back.
Steve Burns.
Mike, race leader Clint Boyer asked his crew chief Shane Wilson, hey, did you guys do anything to make this car looser? Shane said, no, it's just getting hotter. Fuel only, Matt.
Steve, at this juncture, the 31 of Jeff Burton, they're looking for fuel only. And that's what they're doing to that 31 machine, Krista.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. hooking up with Casey Kane. They said to do what he does, they only need a splash. This should be a quick stop, one small adjustment. You see the fuel can, and there goes Dale Earnhardt Jr. He did get on the radio and say, all of our brains are fried right now.
Wow, I believe it. Krista, the 33 lost 3 spots, Clint Boyer. It's not just getting into the pits, having a good stop and getting out. It's managing the traffic all around you. Whoops.
Well, you're in your pit box so quick because you're just getting a splash of fuel.
Maybe those spotters ought to be talking to them on pit road, too.
Caution is out in the Daytona 500.
The Daytona 500 is sponsored by AT&T, Rethink Possible, by the new Chevy Silverado HD, Motor Trend's 2011 Truck of the Year, by the Home Depot, more saving, more doing. That's the power of the Home Depot. And by GoDaddy.com, domains, websites, and everything in between.
60 laps complete when they come to the stripe. Jimmy Johnson back on track. You can win a legend and meet one too. Enter for a chance to win a new Chevy Camaro SS and a chance to meet Jimmy. Visit winyourchevy.com now. 29 cars on the lead lap. As we go back to green, Juan Pablo Montoya and Jamie McMurray on point.
You know, Larry was talking about the free pass, and that's one thing. There's two things that have changed racing a lot. The free pass, which puts one car back on the lead lap, and the waiver round rule. We haven't seen it today, but we may experience that before the day's over. That's how you keep so many cars in contention.
Kurt Busch with a full head of steam from Regan Smith. And then on the inside, Burton and Boyer, Menard and Keselowski, and Dale Jr. up top with Casey Kane in the 4.
Now, Dale Jr. didn't. I was listening to him. He said, I'm not really happy about being shoved around all the time. I think I want to ease off a little bit. So we'll see what happens here.
We listened in on Jamie McMurray and Montoya talking with each other.
Dude, I tried so hard to back up. They kept getting on my outside, and I kept trying to get squared up to your bumper, and I couldn't because there wasn't enough room there. It's hard. You know what I mean? It's hard to get locked up in that draft. It's so critical to be out front, you know? Yeah, but you got to be safe. We have to be safe because once we do, we're there, you know? Yeah, I'm with you. Their cars are really quick.
Patience has put them 2/3 of the way back in the pack, biding their time.
Yeah, what he's saying is you know, we don't want to wreck each other trying to lock up in a 2-car draft because we've got fast cars. Let's be safe and careful here because we got cars that can win this race.
They are back in 18th and 19th.
And Mike, you heard Jamie McMurray say, it's really hard, Juan. It's really hard to get locked in, particularly when you're in traffic. Once you get out front, piece of cake, you just mat it, push, hang on.
At least one crew chief has exclaimed in frustration, I've had enough of this flipping radios to try to talk to any and everybody.
Now, Tony Stewart in that 14, he's found him a little new dance partner, the 20-car Joey Logano. Tony Stewart drove that 20 car for 10 years for Joe Gibbs Racing and actually won 2 championships. The last guy to win a championship, not named Jimmy.
We got us a gauge here. It's hooked to the steering column. And so let's watch Joey Logano as he goes down in the corner. Not a whole lot of steering input. You can see there 17, 18 degrees, not turning that wheel much at all. Little blip every now and then, but we come right back on the straightaway. We go back to straight ahead, dead center down the straightaway. You can actually have to hold the car up in the track just a teeny bit as it goes down the straightaway because you got a little lead in the car to get into the corner. See here about the same input on this end of the racetrack, 16, 17 degrees, but look how steady that is. Down here in the past, that thing will be jumping all over the place from going through the undulation and bumps in the racetrack. Now, smooth as silk.
Logano runs in 7th with Tony Stewart. It's Kurt Busch, Regan Smith, Busch's wingman when he won the Thursday Gatorade Duel to earn a second-row starting spot in the 500. Our steering wheel position sensor is something new for NASCAR on Fox with something else new. Jeff Hammond.
Yeah, that's right, Mike. This year, Fox has broke out the heat seeker cam, and we have an opportunity from time to time to try to take a look at something a little more unique. And this time we're coming and taking a look at Bill Elliott's car when he comes in, the 09 car. Look at the right rear. Look how hot that right rear tire is as it comes off. You'll notice when they bring that tire around, you pass the left rear, how cool it is. We're talking about 190, 195 degrees right there on the right rear and about 145 degrees on the left rear. Gives you a pretty good idea of how much wear and tear the right side tires are taking compared to the left.
Plus, don't forget, Jeff, and I know you know this, the tailpipes both run out. They're right in front of that rear tire, so they're even throwing a little more heat on that right rear tire.
But hats off to Goodyear. The tire that they have developed for January testing and for Speed Weeks is one that nobody's had anything to talk about all through Speed Weeks.
And most of the development was done even before this racetrack was finished with the repave.
Jeff Burton, Clint Boyer, your leaders in the Daytona 500 on Fox.
The Daytona 500 on Fox is sponsored by Sprint, proud sponsor of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series.
Regan Smith, the best pusher in Daytona this week, is the new leader in its Furniture Row Chevy. He is the 14th different driver to lead the 500. They're ahead of Kurt Busch, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and Casey Kane in close formation, and then a pretty good gap back to Clint Boyer and Jeff Burton.
I think Regan need a little air.
Steve?
Mike, Regan Smith's race team, one of the few not located in North Carolina. In fact, they're all the way out in Colorado. This team has a technical alliance with Richard Childress Racing, and the pit crew are all employees of Tony Stewart's at Stewart-Haas Racing. They train at Stewart-Haas Racing, but here at the track, they work for the 78 car. By the way, Regan formed an alliance of his own over the holidays. He got engaged, Larry Mack. Tell everybody how he did it.
Yes, he did. Even at 27 years old, as he's battling for the lead with Dale Earnhardt Jr., he still went to Megan Mayhew's dad and asked for her hand in marriage.
Smith leads this lap, and based on your votes, the Pizza Hut fan favorite today is, big surprise, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Let's see how he's doing. Running in third. Well, make that fourth, make that fifth. Don't worry, he'll come right back.
Yeah, he's got a pretty good pusher right now. Whoa, a little swapping going on there.
And further back at 17th place, David Reagan and Trevor Bayne. During the last caution, we heard from the 20-year-old rookie about the strategy he wanted to employ in the next green flag run.
I just don't know if who I want pushing me here. I'd rather push somebody so I know I can be careful.
I think the 99-43 are going to try to work together, so see what happens with the 6. I'll let you know we'd rather push here.
And Larry, we're looking at a piece of tape, or maybe even a piece of rubber over on the right front corner of the 21 car. You see it right over there. Watch that piece of rubber. It's hung on the hood pin. We're running 190 miles and 195 miles an hour. Watch this thing. It's all of a sudden it's going forward, and he's running 195 miles an hour. But I think that explains why the guy behind is such a good pusher. You lose all the air off the nose of the car behind, and you start pushing that car in front of you. You push that air forward, and the cars go faster.
Yeah, the pressure definitely changes on that nose depending on what configuration you're behind another car.
Regan Smith had a checkup in turn 3, and the Childress Express came through on track 2. Boyer and Burton together again and back into the lead. 26th lead change of the day. The record, 60, was set way back in 1974.
Well, remember, they have to exchange every now and then. The guy running in second, the pusher, he's got to get some air into his radiator after several laps or he'll melt the engine down. So these passes and changes of the position are pretty orchestrated. That's why you need to talk to the guy you're running with.
You know, Clint Boyer has finished 4th in the last 2 Daytona 500s, and Mike and Darrell, I can't help but think in 2003 he caught the eye of Richard Childress at an ARCA race in Nashville. He's from Kansas. He was working on his dirt car. He got a phone call from Richard Childress. He almost didn't take the call because he thought one of his friends was playing a trick on him.
From body shop worker to the leader of the Daytona 500, Kansas Clint Bowyer, out in front. Seventh caution of the day, this one for Travis Kvapil. Pit road's open. Steve.
Fuel only for Clint Bowyer last time, Mike. Right sides this time. Matt?
Right side tires as well, Steve, for the 31 of Jeff Burton. They're going to top him off with Sunoco, Krista.
Matt, the call is also 2 tires for Dale Earnhardt Jr. He is fired up on the radio. Dick?
And Keselowski is taking 4 tires. He's been fast all day, has run up front the entire race.
Dale Jr. Clint Bowyer lead the race off pit road, although Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin did not make pit stops under this caution. Here's what happened. Travis Kvapil, who turned Richardson around for the last caution, gets up out of the groove, knocks the long john and the silver off the right side of his car.
Had all the look that a right front tire was going down on that car.
Good point. Time for an AT&T race break. Down to Chris.
Thanks, Mike. Dale Earnhardt Jr. hanging in there. Remember, from the back of the pack near the front. And when he was asked earlier where do you want to be at the end of the race, he said, I'll be second, and then, of course, cross the finish line first. Long way to go, but Jr. hanging in there as Jeff Burton is currently your leader. 150,000 fans gathering for the running of the Daytona 500, and on lap 3 went silent as fans remembered Dale Earnhardt. Now, the first caution, Kyle Busch hit by Michael Waltrip, spun out. He's been complaining on the radio about the style. Kevin Harvick had engine problems. And here we're looking at Jeff Gordon, who ran into Robbie Gordon. He was complaining about some reckless driving. And on lap 29, an early big one, 15 cars involved. Waltrip, the owner of the 00 car with Rudiman, creates the wreck. Among those involved Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson back out on the track, but certainly having an effect on those competing for the Daytona 500 championship. But with Jeff Hammond, Chris Myers in the Hollywood Hotel, the pace of what we've seen so far with 27 lead changes and 14 different leaders and a lot of activity early, taking some drivers out of at least their chance of winning this race.
Yeah, Chris, and so far what we're seeing, I think, more than anything else, is guys not showing any kind of patience at all. They got fast race cars, but they were so afraid of what they saw, during the 150s on Thursday that I got to go. I got to find me a dance partner. I think everybody's kind of like gotten a frenzy. Now after the big one, everybody seemed like they're willing to settle down and realize we do have a long way to go to the end of this 500-mile race.
I know you've been listening to the radio chatter. We'll keep an eye on that. It's been tough to follow. Hurting. And drivers talking to drivers and crew chiefs as well. Remember, next Sunday we'll be out at Phoenix. That's noon Pacific, 3 o'clock Eastern for the second race of this season, post Daytona 500. See who survives this one for the Subway Fresh Pit 500. All right, fans, time for an AT&T Fastest Pit Crew update. We'll take a look to see which teams have been fastest on pit road today, how it compares to how you, the fans, have voted.
Yeah, this right here is going to be something we're going to be watching all year long, so you get an opportunity to call in and vote for your favorite team. But at the end of the day, I might have a little something to say about that.
All 4 Richard Childress cars have led today, and 3 of the 4 Hendrick cars involved in that wreck. So Dale Earnhardt Jr., the Rick Hendrick lone hope of pulling this one out, at least at this point. Let's rejoin Darrell, Larry, and Mike. This has been an AT&T race break.
Thanks, Chris. Matt Kenseth gets the free pass on this caution. He's now back on the lead lap. The mega teams, Hendrick, Childress, Roush, Gibbs, they've all been hurt with these caution flags, but 3 of the 2-car teams are up in that front pack intact. Both the Ganassi cars, Montoya and McMurray, both of the Penske cars, Keselowski and Busch, both of the Stewart-Haas cars, Tony Stewart and Ryan Newman, continue to run unscathed. Aerial coverage brought to you by DirecTV. Don't just watch TV, DirecTV, as we get set to go green at lap 79. Dale Earnhardt Jr. on point. Casey Kane behind him. Bowyer and Burton hooking up on the low side. We're back under green.
Junior and Kane been working really good together. They've closed on that front group of Bowyer and Burton a couple of times. Wasn't able to get by them, but they got a good shot this time as they drag off into turn 1.
Now, Casey Kane will be Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s teammate in 2012, moving over to Hendrick Motorsports. This is a 1-year stop-off at Red Bull Racing for Casey.
And they've got help from behind with McMurray and Montoya giving him a little extra draft.
Folks at home, if you don't know a lot about our sport, and I'm thinking millions of you do, Dale Jr. just took the lead. And the place has gone wild.
NASCAR's most popular driver years and years in a row. Dale Jr. is going to come across and lead the Daytona 500 for the second time today. Cars still on the lead lap and still in contention. Junior won the pole, crashed in practice, so he had to go to a backup car, and he started this race 43rd last. He now leads.
You know, we for a while there on restrictor plate tracks, Daytona and Talladega, we called him the Pied Piper. Follow me, I'm the Pied Piper, and everyone has or did. It's good to see him back up there leading the race today. I felt comfortable that he could get to the lead eventually. He's got a good race car.
You know, we listened to radio transmission from the Ganassi drivers, Montoya and McMurray earlier. It just takes them a little bit to get hooked up in the right way. On the restart there, you see them on the high side fighting for the lead.
Now, a couple cars that have been working together at the front of the field, Kurt Busch and Regan Smith, both spent some extra time on pit road under that caution. Matt and Steve can fill us in.
Mike, it's been a full day of issues for Busch as he's now pushing the 78 of Smith. Earlier slid through the pits. Then he had a vibration thinking that a possible brake issue that he experienced in practice had come back. And then when they pitted the car, they saw a huge hole in the nose. They repaired half of it, sent him back out, brought Busch back, and then screwed in a piece of aluminum and then covered it with a huge piece of black Bear Bond tape. You can see that aluminum, Steve.
Matt, issues for Regan Smith in that 78 as well. He had to come down pit road again. He had a side flap for a cowl opening that had broken. The team had to tape that down as well. He lost a lot of positions.
There's so much turbulence, and these two guys have really figured this transfer out. You're going to lose some time, but you're trying to make it a minimum as you can. But look at the difference in the speeds. That's just from changing from the swapping the positions, front to first to second.
When you make that swap, your time for that lap goes up by 1.5 seconds, and that's an eternity at these speeds.
But some of these things that are breaking on these race cars, body parts and stuff, that's how much turbulence and how much air is being blown around these race cars at over 200 miles an hour.
Coming to the line, Army strong, Ryan Newman. Past winner of the 500 with help from Joey Logano. Newman out front. He is the 16th different leader of this race.
What's amazing, go back to Michigan in August. These two guys were nose to nose, fist to fist after the race. Here they're helping each other in the Daytona 500.
What do you call it, Darrell? Co-opetition?
That's all it is, buddy. Find somebody that'll help you, and you don't care who it is. You have no enemies right now. Everybody's your friend, and you want to keep it that way until the end. All bets are off. 2 to go. Every man for himself, but right now, come on, buddy, help me.
In the 2 big races so far this weekend, whoever has led right here coming off turn 4 was not the leader at the checkered flag.
Yeah, I heard guys, they've said it a couple of times yesterday in the Bud shootout. I felt like I was a setting duck, and it seems like off of turn 4 now to the start-finish line, guy in the front is a setting duck.
And one of the fellows who said that was Ryan Newman. Dick Berggren.
Although chassis and handling seems not to be a factor for the majority of drivers, it has become a factor for Joey Logano, currently running right behind Ryan Newman. His car has been unstable and loose all day. Nevertheless, he's up front in second position.
And you have to, you know, it's unstable. It's uncomfortable. Dude, you're running 200 miles an hour.
Now, where are Logano's teammates? They're kind of back there a ways. We'll catch up on Denny Hamlin and Kyle Busch when we come back to the Great American Race on Fox. Win a legend and meet one too. Enter for a chance to win a new Chevy Camaro SS and a chance to meet Jimmy Johnson. Visit winyourchevy.com now. Clint Boyer, Jeff Burton back out in front of the Daytona 500. Ryan Newman coming back to the front with Joey Logano. Martin Truex, the 56, with Carl Edwards. Kurt Busch with Regan Smith. And Casey Kane with Dale Earnhardt Jr. Let's look at the 2 Joe Gibbs cars that are not Joey Logano. They've been kind of idling along in mid-pack. Now, last time along, though, watch the 18 and the 11, Busch and Hamlin.
Boy, Kyle Busch's car is just very unstable. That looked like Michael when Michael turned him around earlier, and Kyle has been on some great adventures.
And I know this is in slow motion, but I think as you saw a while ago with our telemetry, it's in the mid 190s that all that's going on there in the middle of the corner.
Now they are back at 22nd and 23rd, trying to stay out of the fray, as this race still has 111 laps to run. Krista.
Well, don't be alarmed yet. Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin, they are laying back in an effort to stay out of trouble. And you know, Kyle Busch will be the first to admit he can sometimes be a hothead, but keeping cool is a lesson for him and his car. That's what the team worked on in final practice. When and where to pass the baton and get the most air to the car.
I think it's kind of a double whammy. I don't think he likes to be pushed, and he's not a good pusher. And so I think he's really got himself in a dilemma here.
We're hearing that the spotter stand is like the trading floor on the New York Stock Exchange with all the deal making going on. The radio chatter is wild. The spotters are trying to be matchmakers while still trying to keep their drivers out of harm's way.
There you see Ryan Newman in the 39 car hooked back up with Joey Logano in the 20, trying to get by Kurt Busch and Regan Smith. But it's amazing, Kurt Busch and Regan Smith, you got the report that they had problems with their car, had to come back to pit road because they pretty much have been hooked up together the entire speed weeks. Here they're back up there leading the Daytona 500.
And listen, you don't race any differently. You know, we had some cars out of the race. I said earlier, you don't know that. You don't race any differently right now than if the whole field was out there racing. You're just racing your little crowd right here.
Among the cars that were crashed, Greg Biffle is back on track making laps. So is Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon, David Rudiman, and Brian Vickers.
People always say, Mike, after a crash, they'll always say, well, maybe they'll take it easy. Now, they don't know.
No. Andy Lally in the garage, the rookie, out of the race. Richardson, Nemechek, Ambrose, Waltrip, Brian Keselowski, Harvick with engine trouble, also J.J. Yelin.
You know, Denny Hamlin in the 11 car, he did a 20-lap practice run the other day, and he told me after that, you saw Dave Blaney run over 200 miles an hour, but Denny Hamlin told me after being in front, being pushed for 20 laps, yeah, I was mentally drained, but my arms felt like they were about to fall out of my socket.
The most we saw water was about 255. Oil was about 255 as well, and that's when I would bail out.
That is the autopsy from Jeff Burton on his engine. He becomes the second Richard Childress car to fall by the wayside after his teammate Kevin Harvick.
There's Richard Childress there, and you better believe he's becoming a very nervous man.
You know he is. These engines, again, we are working them down here like they've never worked them before.
I would get it right back down and bail out.
I never thought I'd see over 9,000 RPM at Daytona, and that's where these things are living.
Now Burton talking about when the light came on. Their water temperature gauge has a light built in, kind of like what we call the idiot light on your car, but it's predetermined it's set at a predetermined point, and when the light comes on, the driver knows he needs to breathe the car, get it out in clean air. Burton explaining he was doing that, but the engine appeared to let go anyway.
I just believe the weather has caught a lot of these guys out today. I tell you, I think they are seeing a lot of heat in the engines. There's a lot of heat in the track. Cars are not handling quite as good as they have all week. I think the weather is certainly playing havoc with some of these guys.
It's almost like the kiss of death for the 2011 Daytona 500 was being the chase in 2010. Almost all of those 12 guys have had a problem of some type of another.
They're going to test out the new point system.
The ambient temperature is nudging 80 degrees, and that's the first time in the 10 days of Speed Week that has happened. Warmest day of the week. Kurt Busch with Regan Smith, his new fastest friend, in front of the Daytona 500.
You're watching NASCAR on Fox.
The Daytona 500 on Fox is sponsored by Lowe's. Lowe's, let's build something together. By AARP. Join Jeff Gordon and AARP in the drive to end hunger today. And by Dodge.
One lap to halfway in the Daytona 500. Let's take an inside look at what's happening now in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, brought to you by Sprint and HTC Evo 4G. Clint Boyer has the fastest lap in the race, 200.5 miles per hour.
And you know what's interesting? We talked about you'll work with anybody. I don't think Trevor Bayne probably has run any laps with Robbie Gordon, and here they are leading the race.
Kurt Busch has led the most laps so far, 14. Fuel your inner NASCAR fan with live in-car audio and real-time stats on your NASCAR Sprint Cup mobile and the new HTC Evo 4G, only from Sprint at sprint.com/speed. Robbie Gordon has been leading the 500 with a push from Trevor Bayne, and oh my goodness, here they all come.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to last because here comes Regan Smith in that 78 and his buddy Kurt Busch in that 22.
But did you see what Trevor Bayne did? He got way back off of Robbie Gordon. He didn't want to go in that corner 3 wide, pushing Robbie Gordon. Felt like that might not be safe. That is using got a lot of intelligence in that 21 car.
Well, it's been 5 years since Richard Childress' team lost 2 engines in 1 race. Here's Dick Berggren.
But it has happened today, and there are still 2 Childress cars out there, and they are fast. Clint Boyer, Paul Menard. Their engine's going to be okay, do you think?
I hope so. We, this is we're asking a lot out of the engines here for sure, and these are tough situations. To run it all, you got to run them 240 or so, and that may be a little more than we need to be running them. We thought we were well within our limits, but maybe not. But listen, I'm proud of everybody. Everybody busted their butt to come down here and put their best foot forward. We ran well all week, and I'm proud of everybody. I'm disappointed, exceptionally disappointed, but I'm really proud of everybody's effort.
He ran well enough. He won his qualifying race on Thursday.
Jeff Burton out of the 500 after winning on Thursday. Last year, 12 drivers made the chase for the Sprint Cup. Jimmy Johnson won his 5th straight championship. How are those 12 chasers doing today? Not too good. But for Carl Edwards and Kurt Busch, it's been a long haul for the drivers who made the chase last year.
Yeah, that's the order they finished. Of course, Jimmy Johnson winning his 5th consecutive Sprint Cup Series championship.
Just past halfway, 99 laps to go.
And remember, I think everyone's aware of the fact that we got a new point system. 43 points for first, with a maximum of 48 points if you lead the most laps.
Ryan Newman, Joey Logano leading the field around. Ryan's been lucky enough and good enough to win 1 Daytona 500. How about 2, Matt?
Mike, you never know where a driver will find good luck. 2 years ago, Newman wrecked 2 cars here in Daytona. After 4 races, sat 34th in points. While on vacation, one of his crew members named Jay Guarneri saw a voodoo store. He thought, what the heck, I'll try it out. Stepped inside, said, I need something for good luck. He bought a mojo bag. He came back to the next race, told Newman about it. Newman put it in his left hip pocket, reading the directions well, and for the next year and a half, every race he had that mojo bag in his pocket. He won a race and 3 poles. This year, though, they're trying to change up their mojo by going with no mojo. No good luck items in the 39. And DW, I've heard a lot about NASA helping drivers get to victory lane, computers, but never voodoo.
Voodoo, you do that, go, you do that voodoo that you do so well. Ryan Newman, Joey Logano. Newman came up through sprint cars. Logano came up through quarter midgets and caught the eye of Mark Martin, who said that this kid is the next big thing. He's better than sliced bread, and sliced bread became the nickname that hung on Logano's shoulders all the way to the Sprint Cup Series.
Made his first Daytona 500 start 2 years ago. What a difference 2 years has made for that young man, Joey Logano.
All right, we've all made our picks. Let's check back in and see how your Pizza Hut fan favorite driver is doing. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is 14th right now on the lead lap, running about 2.8 seconds off the lead, drafting with Casey Kane, the number 4.
I don't think that they're in trouble. I think this is a little bit of a plan. Dale Jr. was not comfortable the way people were racing in front of him, and he said, I want to ride back, fall back a little bit and stay out of trouble.
You know, Mike, we're now 4 laps past halfway, 104 down, 96 to go, and this is the longest green flag run we have had in this race. In fact, we're about 14 to 16 or so laps away from what will be green flag pit stops, something they hadn't had to make so far in this race.
Well, that'll be interesting because new this year, only 6 men are over the wall to service that car. Green flag stops coming.
The Daytona 500 on Fox is sponsored by the new Chevy Silverado HD, Motor Trend's 2011 Truck of the Year.
Juan Pablo Montoya has spun off turn 4 to put us under caution for the 8th time today. He didn't hit anything and continued on to pit road. Caution is out. Dick Berggren.
Well, it's not enough to get on pit road fast, Mike. They've told Trevor Bayne not to use his brakes hard because that locks the shock absorber, which makes it hard to get the front tire off. Steve.
4 tires for Ryan Newman this time, Dick. Let's go to Matt.
Ever since the damage to Kurt Busch's nose, he's lost the handling of the nose of this 22 car. Right side tires only, and they are going to try to top it off of fuel.
Right side tires for Bayne and for Paul Menard. Looks like Menard will get 4, as will A.J. Allmendinger.
Really long stop for Trevor Bayne in that 21 car, even getting just right side tires.
Robbie Gordon, the first off pit road with Kurt Busch and Ryan Newman. Watch the 42, the target car. Jamie McMurray behind him. Montoya goes around, and what a save at 200 miles an hour. He drives it onto pit road and to the caution flag.
World class right there.
The Daytona 500 on Fox is sponsored by Coca-Cola. Open a Coke and enjoy the race. We're threatening the record for lead changes at the Daytona 500. We have had 39 so far. 60 is the mark. 18 leaders within 3 of the record set here. Moments ago, Jamie McMurray trying to win back-to-back Daytona 500s for the first time since the mid-90s when Sterling Marlin did it. Ran into Juan Pablo Montoya trying to get some air, running hot. Let's rejoin Darrell, Larry, and Mike.
Steve Wallace got the free pass on this, the 8th caution flag of the day. We're back under green. Robbie Gordon made a pit stop and held on to the lead. He and Ryan Newman drafting together, trying to hang on to it. But once again, Kurt Busch and Regan Smith, an odd couple pairing because it's a Dodge and a Chevrolet, have vaulted out front.
But they've been this way throughout practice. They did it all day long in the Gatorade Dual qualifying race on Thursday, and he knew he had a great partner there.
Yeah, they have a lot of confidence in each other, and Regan's a good kid. He's a good player.
And watch at the bottom of your screen, the 88 and the 14 have found each other. Stewart and Earnhardt Jr. were talking on the radio about linking up, hooking up, and trying to get to the front. We'll see if they can as we crank it up. As they come to the stripe, Kurt Busch, leader by a narrow margin over Martin Truex. 2 by 2 by 2 by 2 because the new surface at Daytona International Speedway, smooth enough, no bumps, no whoops, so that one driver can push another and have the advantage of 2 cars worth of torque and horsepower to make them much faster than any single car could be by itself.
Yeah, there's so many things you don't have to worry about. Don't have to worry too much about handling. The track is fixed that with the new surface. Don't have to worry about tires. Goodyear fixed that with the great tires, and here we are 3 wide for the lead off turn 4.
Boyer up the middle. Truex on the high side. Busch on the bottom. Trevor Bayne gives a little breathing room there, and Boyer vaults back to the lead. He and Busch have traded back and forth the honor of leading the most laps, and whoever does gets a bonus point toward the Sprint Cup Series.
And Larry, you talk about ECR engines, and here we got the 33 and the 27. They're out of the Childress stables, just like the 29 and the 31 were. They're running fine. They don't seem to be having any issues at all.
Well, and remember, Regan Smith, the 78 car, has that engine package. But, Darrell, I'm so impressed with that young Trevor Bayne. You talked to him on the pace laps, 20 years old yesterday in the 21 car. Whenever they get 3 wide, he gives some breathing room to that car in front of him.
Yeah, he backs out of a hole. If he sees something he doesn't like, he's smart enough to know to get out of there.
Kurt Busch trying to lead this lap. Robbie Gordon on the outside with Joey Logano, and Busch leads another one. This may not be the most physically demanding race of the year, but it is certainly the most mentally taxing. We asked last year's winner Jamie McMurray about that.
Mentally draining. This will be as bad as it gets, and it's going to be worse this year. It's going to be twice as bad this year as it was last year, because it's about 2 cars being hooked together, and you're not only driving your car, but you're trying to know what the guy in front of you is going to do, and also what everyone around you is going to do. I know after the 150, I laid down at 8 o'clock at night, and I told Christy, I was like, I'm going to sleep. And she said, well, you didn't really do anything today. You know, all you had was the 150. I said, I'm really tired. I said, that's mentally draining what we did today. And she kind of giggled, and she's like, wow, I can't wait to see how you feel Sunday.
Apparently sounds tired just talking about it.
He was tired anticipating it. I think that's what it was. You know, we're talking about tires and tire wear. Back in I think it was Tiny Lund drove for the Wood Brothers. He won the Daytona 500 on 1 set of tires.
1963, the first of the Wood Brothers' 4 victories at Daytona. A.J. Foyt, Cale Yarborough, and the great David Pearson in '76 also carried a similarly painted number 21 to victory. And Trevor Bayne was pretty giddy last evening when he got to meet David Pearson for the first time.
Heck, I've met Pearson 100 times, and I get kind of giddy every time I meet him, too. Such a great, great driver.
Kurt Busch, Regan Smith, Clint Boyer, Paul Menard, Robbie Gordon out front of the Daytona 500 on Fox. Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR. Everything we've learned making tires for one of racing's most grueling proving grounds inspires what we roll into yours. Goodyear, more driven. Martin Truex, Trevor Bayne out in front of Kyle Busch, Joey Logano, Mark Martin, Ryan Newman. Now watch Junior and Tony Stewart. Watch what happens between them, and then listen to Junior's reaction.
Oh yeah, no big deal. Yeah, and some two here. I gotta get some more air here. No pressure, clear by about 20 back there. Clear by 20.
These two are the best of friends racing nose to tail. Stewart finished second to Dale Jr. in the 500 in 2004, and they are favorite drafting partners in the Saturday races here.
We need to get back away from him, let him get slowed down, and then we need to smoke by him and get on. Bye, man.
So they're just talking strategy. Get off of him, get a good run, and just go blowing by. And that's what the plan was. But Junior, I've heard him say all race long here, I don't want to be up there in all that fray right now. I want to be back here where I got a little bit of a safety zone.
But they're back in 16th and 17th, Larry.
Name me another sport where you communicate strategy with the guy you're trying to beat for the biggest event of the year. I mean, we're seeing it all over this racetrack all day long.
I mean, you steal signs in baseball, you get a pitch in the ear. Sure.
Oh, you'll play nice right now. I wouldn't depend on it at the end of the day.
We talked earlier about Regan Smith, who has been with the leaders all day. Now his number 78 is out of that lead pack and back at 8th place. Steve?
And Mike, Larry just talked about the understand the caution out. Back to you, Mike.
Yellow flag as Travis Kvapil limps onto pit road. And back to Steve.
And Mike, you were just talking about Regan Smith in the 78 and the fact that they have an engine program with ECR. They just told Regan, do not run part throttle. Repeat, no part throttle, and that comes from the engine department.
And what that does is when you're part throttle, it leans the engine out. If you're wide open, you're sucking max fuel. When you got it part throttle, the engine wants to detonate. It doesn't have a good flow of fuel going into it, and it'll cause it to burn a piston.
And that's why I go back to what Darrell said earlier. The guy that's up there by pushing, he can't roll out of the throttle. The guy in front needs to do that trail braking, but stay wide open on the throttle.
And Darrell, let's don't forget, we're racing a new fuel today. This is the hottest temperature we've seen all week long. And you know how when you start trying to fine tune these race cars, if you get the timing in the mixture a little off because of the heat temperature, and plus the engines maybe run a little warmer, all of these things could be a mixture for disaster is about what it works out to be.
I think you're right, Jeff, and I think this, again, it's hotter today, and it's been the whole week, and I think it's kind of catching some of these guys out just a little bit on their engine tuning.
So with 76 laps to go, they'll open the pits for fuel and tires if needed, and there'll be at least one more pit stop in this race. Next Sunday on Fox, the Subway Fresh Fit 500. We go from Daytona to Phoenix and the 1 Mile Phoenix International Raceway in the desert. So here they come for what could be the next to last pit stop of this Daytona 500. Steve Burns.
Mike, DW just talked about the increased temperature here. Clint Boyer said, man, please give me a cold water. They're also going to go fuel only for Clint Boyer, Dick.
Martin Truex is going to pit. He's not going to take tires on this stop or the next one or the one after that. They're going to run this set of tires for the entire duration of the Daytona 500.
Not many tire changes among the first ones to pit road. Joey Logano is going to take at least right sides. Krista?
Same strategy for his teammate, Kyle Busch. Right side tires for Kyle. Matt?
4 tires for the 22 of Kurt Busch. He says the vibration is slightly getting worse with each stop. He also noted that the screws that are on the front bumper, the repair job, is just eating up the rear bumper of the 78 of Smith.
Brad Keselowski got right side tires. A.J. Allmendinger gets 4 as we're under caution in the 500.